Hello and thank you for joining us for this week's track and race guide for Daily Race C in association with Kireth Esports. This is for the 10-lap race in the Gr4 cars around Autopolis. There's no tyre or fuel strategy as it's only ×2 degradation for both those, so easily make it to the end of the race without pitting. And again, no tuning, so it's BOP on, no tuning allowed, so a nice easy race to jump into. It does make for some very, very close racing around this track, so hopefully this gives you some pointers as to how to get a bit of a better time to get up the grid. So let's go through and see how it's all done. So the car we're in this week is the Mazda Atenza, which is definitely what I'd recommend for qualifying and the race. It seems to be the fastest car by a long stretch. And the first brake marker that we're looking out for is the end of the barrier here, just after the 100-metre board. We're braking not on it, but just after that, in a straight line, then down to second, turning in just before the end of the sort of orange barrier on your left-hand side, and then really get on the power nice and early before you're even apexing to get the best launch down this back straight. The next brake marker we're looking out for is the little path off to the left, again not on it but braking just after that, down to third, and then you do want to get off the brakes fairly quickly to let the car turn in, and you can feed the power in before you come into this sort of extended U-turn section. Keep the car reasonably tight here, you see I just use a little dab of brake and then feather the throttle a little bit to keep the car sort of moving but still reasonably tight in, and then brake in before the end of the curb on your right hand side, down into second gear, and you can use first to rotate the car for a second there, or you can actually just keep it in second. I think it's probably a little bit quicker if you're able to get the car turned in, and you're feeding the power in about halfway around the hairpin, and the car will just accelerate out nicely. Here, just as you get onto this curb, a little dab of brake, keep the car in third, and you want to just aim towards this curb on your left and feed the power in. There's loads of runoff here, so make sure that you use all of the track and get out to this curb on the right hand side on your exit. And next we're going to be looking out for the 50-metre board, but this time we're braking just before it as opposed to after, so just before the 50 board there, hard on the brakes, and you don't want to turn in too early for this and clip too much curb on the left hand side. You definitely want to turn in a little bit later. That's going to allow you to feed the power in without losing the back end and smooth the angle out on the exit of the corner there. Once again we're going to be looking out for the 50-metre board here, so when we get to the 50-metre board we're going to be in fourth, just a dab of brake, turn in and then shift down to third, and then you can get back on the power pretty much straight away using this curve on the left as you run off, and then just downshift to third again and coast round the first half of this right hander, and then you can feed the power in once you're about sort of halfway around that curb in. There's a bit of a tricky section here, so I'm going to slow this all down. Just use a dab of brake to keep the car tight to the curb on the right hand side, down into second, and you want to aim quite early on, and you see the power is already down for all of this uphill right hander. Up into third, cut this curb on the left, and then you can just use a little lift or a tiny dab of brake to get the car to turn in, and ideally you want to just clip a little bit of that curb on the left hand side, so I'm just a little bit wide there, and then using all of the power out here into fourth for just a second, but then down to third, just using a tiny bit of brake to balance the car around. And as we come towards the end of this barrier on the right, so where that path is, that's where you want to have been feeding the power in. So you want to be on the power just before you get to that path on your right hand side. That's going to give you the launch that you need to get up out here onto the straight. That was good enough for a 54, so I want to get into the sort of high 53s definitely, but that's a good enough starter for the beginning of the week. Hope that helps. Please do drop a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it, and we'll see you in some races in the week. Thanks very much.